Shalom. I want to give all honors and glories and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahawashi, Bahashim Wakakodash, Yahweh, which is the one true name of the Heavenly Father, Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one true name is Yahawashi, Bahashim, meaning coming in the name, Ba means coming in, Ha means the, Sham means name, Rakah meaning spirit, Kodash meaning holy. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect, and shalom to you sincere brothers that are scattered abroad, pushing forth this word in truth and sincerity. And shalom to you sincere sisters that are listening in silence as the scriptures command you to do so. I am the brother Mashiach Razakah, and pretty much this lesson is going to be titled as Thermonuclear Missiles Are Prophesied in the Scriptures. Thermonuclear missiles are in the Bible. Nuclear missiles are prophesied in the Scriptures. Now you got a lot of individuals out here as well that try to push that nuclear missiles is not mentioned in the scriptures, mentioned in the Bible. And it is. It's actually prophesied in the scriptures. Now, if the Lord is dealing with you, you're going to understand and know the parables in the scriptures. But if the Lord is not dealing with you, you're not going to be able to grasp the concept of knowing these things are in the scriptures. Okay? Because the Lord is only dealing with a certain amount of men. He's not dealing with every single Hebrew Israelite, because not every single Hebrew Israelite is the same. Not every single Hebrew Israelite group is teaching the same doctrine. You got Israelite groups teaching that nuclear missiles is not in the scriptures, and they are prophesied in the scriptures. And we're going to prove it in this lesson. Okay, we're going to prove that nuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures, right? And thermonuclear missiles will destroy this place called America, which is Babylon the Great. Okay, nuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures, and we're going to prove that in this lesson, and Lord willing, hopefully you're edified. Nuclear missiles, again, are prophesied in the scriptures, and they are mentioned in the scriptures. Okay, and we got to bring this out. Lord willing is edifying, to edify those that are new in the truth, and to bring this out through the Spirit. So, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying, and you receive the wisdom, knowledge, understanding this gospel, this ministry, this truth. All right, and let's get to it. We're gonna start in Revelation 11 and 14. Salakia. Revelation 11 and 14. This is Revelation 11 and 14. It says the second woe is past. What is the second woe? World War II. Now you have World War I that passed, and you have World War II, right? And World War II is past. It says, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. What's that third woe? That third woe, that's talking about World War III, which World War III will take place, okay? And it is coming, and it will happen, okay? This is a prophecy that's going to come, and it's going to lead to what? Thermonuclear destruction, okay? It's going to lead to that. I got another precept. This is Joel 3, and we're going to read verse 9. Right? Joel 3 and 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, and let all the men of war draw near, and let them come up. Right? The more prophecies we're bringing out, the more the mighty men are coming. Right? And this is leading into what? That war, that thermonuclear war, right? World War III, right? Is leading into that, right? It says, beat their plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I'm strong. And that's America, because America has become weak. All the other countries have seen how weak America has become. Okay? And these other countries are going to come up against America. Okay? They see how weak America is. America believe they still strong, but they're not. You got Russia that got way more advanced weaponry. They're like 10 years advanced more than America in weaponry. Everybody think America is just has the best weaponry. Yes, they got this missile attack called the nuclear football. Anybody can look that up. Yeah, they got the nuclear football, but the nuclear football, that's not doing nothing compared to Satan 1 and Satan 2 that Russia got. They got Satan 1, Satan 2. They got the ICBM missiles, the nuclear ballistic intercontinental missiles, roughly paraphrasing. And they can shoot at 600 miles per hour, and they can destroy a whole entire continent. Okay, yes, Russia got the most advanced weaponry, right? It says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither, because thy mighty ones, right, to come down, O Lord. It says, verse 12, let the heathen be wakened, let the heathen be wakened, right, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? And that's going to be in the region of the Middle East, right? Which goes to Yahweh Shaphat, right? It says, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about, right? Because the Lord is going to stretch out his hand from the Middle East, which that division is going to take place in the Middle East, right? That's where that war is going to happen, which is going to lead to thermonuclear destruction, okay? And that's going to happen. That's going to take place, and that's going to happen, okay? America, Babylon the Great, is going to be destroyed in thermonuclear missiles, thermonuclear fire, right? Isaiah 24:20. And it says, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not be risen again. You see that? So this place called America is going to be destroyed literally in thermonuclear destruction. Okay? That's going into the missiles. This prophecy is going to happen. Okay? America is going to be destroyed in thermonuclear fire, thermonuclear missiles, man. Right? Let's get out that, just get out Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah 51:1. Jeremiah 51:1. It says, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will rise up against Babylon. Babylon is this place called America. And it says, against them that dwell in the midst of them, it says, that rise up against me, right? A destroying wind. That's that the nuclear missiles, the thermonuclear fire, right? Verse 2, it says, and will send unto Babylon, which is America, fanners, that shall fan her and empty her land. How is America land going to be empty? It's going to be desolate. How is it going to be desolate? With thermonuclear destruction, right? The scriptures mentioned in Revelation, I think it's 14 and it's not 9, but I think it's 11, where it talks about the forever smoke. Because once America is destroyed, it's going to be a forever smoke, right? When you go to Revelation 18, it talks about 1 hour. It says 1 hour, right? In 1 hour, right? 1 day and 1 hour. That's a Revelation 18. Read Revelation 18. It says 1 day and 1 hour. It's only going to take 1 day and 1 hour for this place called America to be destroyed. Okay? It's not going to take that long. It's only going to take 1 day and 1 hour for America to be destroyed, man. All right? It says, and will send unto Babylon, which is America, fanners that shall fan her, shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. And you see that? They're going to be against her round about, right? And it says, verse 3, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, right? The archer is those scientists, right? Those professors. This is roughly paraphrasing that created those war weapons. The Lord gave them the wisdom through the Spirit to be able to create those war weapons and to be able to get them launched. All right? That's why it says, let the archer bend his bow, right? Talking about the nuclear missiles, right? And against him that lifteth himself up in the braggadine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. You see that? This is talking about the nuclear missiles. Verse 4, it says, thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. Verse 5, for Israel have been, so like it says, for Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his power of the Lord of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Verse 6, and this is what the scriptures tells us here. This is why we are setting our affections on things above. Verse 6, it says, flee out of the midst of Babylon. Flee out of the midst of Babylon. It's talking about spiritually. Come out of the ways of this whore, right? It says, and deliver every man his soul, right? Be not cut off in her iniquity. You see that? This is why we're not being committed to this place called America. For this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. Because the Lord is going to cast his judgment on the earth. He's going to send back his only begotten son to establish that judgment on the earth. That's in the scriptures as well. You're going to have the thermonuclear missiles, and you're also going to have the second coming of our Lord, Yahushua. That's mentioned in Daniel 7 and 9. It talks about the Ancient of Days sitting. The Ancient of Days, that's talking about the Heavenly Father. He's the Ancient of Days, right? And his only begotten son, he's going to send him on the earth to establish his judgment, right? And it says, verse 6, it says, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. It says, be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance, right? He will render unto her a recompense. See that? So it's a recompense that's due, right? Verse 7, Babylon have been a golden cup, which Babylon is America, have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, and that all the earth drunken, right? Drunken of the philosophies. Our people, majority of our people in this world is drunken off the philosophies, right? which the philosophies is the drunken of the philosophies, drunken of the wine, which the drunken of the wine is the false religions, the politics, and the false religions. I mean, the philosophies, the false religions, and the politics. That's the drunken of the wine. That's that drunken, right? It says that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, right? Which that's mentioned in Revelation 17. It talks about that. The nations drinking of that wine, right? They're embedded in the ways of this society. Therefore, the heathens are mad, right? Verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. It says, how for her, it says, take balm of her pain, if so be she may be healed. Verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into their own country, his own country. And this is what has been happening ever since the pandemic. All these foreigners have been coming to this place called America, getting all the value that they needed, and they're taking all the money and earnings that they earn, and they're going back home. That's been happening, right? There's no value in America. They didn't sucked it mostly dry. That's why America's Babylon the Great is starting to collapse. It says, drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed, right? It says, how for her take balm of her pain, if so be she may be healed. Verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reach onto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies, right? And what did the scriptures say in Revelations, right? The scriptures say in Revelation, right, that the Lord is gonna destroy her. It's gonna be double onto her, right? Let's get that. Revelation 18, I think it's verse 5. We get to the main point. Revelation 18 and 5. It says, for her sins, right, have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. So even though Esau sweeps all his wickedness under the rug, the Lord ain't forgotten that. This is what the Lord say in verse 6. This is what's going to happen. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. In the cup which he shall have fulfilled to her double. All the pain, suffering, and sorrow, this demon Esau going to get it. This devil's going to get it double onto him. All these heathen nations are going to get it double. America is going to be destroyed, right? The Lord talks about that place, talking about her being destroyed, right? Let's get down to verse 8. It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day. See, this place called America, this whore is going to have many plagues, right? But one of the main plagues is thermonuclear destruction. That's why it says, therefore shall her plague come in one day. It's only going to take one day for this place called America to be destroyed. Death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. Thermonuclear fire, right? For strong is the Lord who, it says, the Lord power who judges her, right? This whore is going to be judged, right? This whore is going to be judged, right? Let's skip down to verse. I'm going to get to the main one. Let's go verse 9. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and live deliciously with her, right? Because they lay in bed with this whore, bewailing her, right? And the reason why they're going to be bewailing bewailing this whore is because they're not going to be getting the finances and resources and benefits that they get now, right? Because all these other countries are on the same currency as America. So once America folds, all the other countries is going to fold as well, because they're on the same currency as America. They're literally in bed with this whore. They're in bed with the whore, right? Which is America. She's a whore. It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, thermonuclear fire. For strong is the Lord who judges her. Verse 9, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Right? Verse 10, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, say, Alas, Alas, that great city Babylon, America, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment. So it's only going to take 1 hour and 1 day for this place called America to be destroyed. And America is going to be destroyed in what? Thermonuclear destruction, thermonuclear fire. Ezekiel 35 and 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir. Mount Seir is this place called America, right? That's Mount Seir, right? This is modern day Mount Seir. Ancient Mount Seir is the city of Petra, right? Which they call the Rose City, right? That's ancient Mount Seir. That's near the Dead Sea, right? That's ancient Mount Seir. But this place called America is modern day Mount Seir. So it's talking about America here. It says, the Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it, right? Verse 3, it says, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord power, behold, O Mount Seir, which is America, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. How the Lord going to make America desolate? With thermonuclear destruction, right? Verse 4, and I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Verse 5, it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end. Verse 6, therefore as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Say, if thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Verse 7, thus will I make Mount Seir, which is America, most desolate, and cut off from it that passeth out, and him that returneth. Verse 8, and I will fill his mountains with his slain men, and thy hills and thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. Right? Thermonuclear destruction. Verse 9, and I will make thee perpetual desolations. The Lord's going to do that, right? And thy cities shall not return. And ye shall know that I am the Lord. The Lord is going to cast judgment on this place called America. America is going to be destroyed in thermonuclear destruction, thermonuclear fire. That's prophecy. Whether you believe it or not, that is prophecy. Verse 10, because thou hast said, these two nations, these two countries shall be mine, and we shall possess it, whereas the Lord was there. Verse 11, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, I will even do according to thine anger and according unto thine envy, which thou hast used out of all thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. Verse 12, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord power, that I have heard all the blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate, they are given us to consume. You see that? Verse 13, thus will your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. Verse 14, thus saith the Lord power, when the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate. So the Lord is going to destroy this place called America. He's going to destroy Esau, Edom, and his kingdom and his rulership. Verse 15, and thus didst rejoice in the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, which is America, and Idumea, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. The word Idumea is the Greek word for Edom, okay? Which, when you want to say Edomite or Edom, right, in the Hebrew is Adawam, which is Edom. Edom means red, which goes to the Greek word of Edom is Idumea, which is an Edomite, a so-called white person. You so-called white people are the biblical Edomites today. It says, and shall Idumea, even all of it, and they shall know that I am the Lord. So there's a recompense that's going to be due. And your kingdom, right, which is Babylon the Great, which is your heaven, which is your kingdom, is going to be destroyed in thermonuclear destruction. The Lord is going to destroy your kingdom. Your kingdom is going to be destroyed in thermonuclear destruction, right? Nuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures, whether you believe in it or not. The Lord is going to destroy your kingdom. He's going to destroy your rulership. Isaiah 34:8. Right? Look at Isaiah 34:8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. So the Lord is going to establish a judgment on this whore, and she's going to receive a judgment. She's going to be destroyed. Thermonuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures. Isaiah 66:15. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, right? And with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebukes of flames of fire. Thermonuclear destruction, right? You're gonna have fire shooting from the chariots as well. But thermonuclear destruction is going to be one of the main plagues that America is going to receive. Verse 16, for by fire and by his sword, the thermonuclear destruction, that's that sword, will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. So the Lord is going to establish a judgment on the earth. He's going to send back his only begotten son to establish his judgment on the earth. So you're going to have the Lord Yahweh Shai and the angels returning, tearing stuff up, but you also going to have the thermonuclear destruction that's going to destroy this place called America. And this is why we're praying to be the elect, because 2/3 of our people is going to be destroyed in this thermonuclear destruction. They're going to be left here to be destroyed in that. That's going to happen. That's why the scriptures talks about that. It even says the missiles shall not miss, right? The missiles that the Lord going to use, that's going to send, they're not going to miss. Let's prove that. right? Let's prove that. This is Revelation. This is 2nd Esdras 16, Salakia, and 13. Listen to this. This is talking about nuclear missiles. 2nd Esdras 16:13. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. The bow is talking about the missiles, right? His arrows, the missiles, right? That shooteth are sharp and shall not miss. Them missiles is going to hit where the Lord set them up to hit. So they're not going to miss, right? When they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. Talking about thermonuclear missiles, man. Nuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures, right? It's prophesied in the scriptures. 2nd Esdras 4, we'll start at verse 25 and read to verse 28, verse 29. It says, what will he then do unto his name whereby we are called? Of these things have I asked. Verse 26, then answered me and said, the more thou searchest, the more thou shalt marvel, right? For the world hasteth fast to pass away. Verse 27, and cannot comprehend the things that are promised to the righteous in the time to come. For this world is full of unrighteousness and infirmities. This is why the Lord has to use nuclear fire, right? Thermonuclear fire, lakes of fire. Fire is a cleaning agent. This place has to be cleansed out. It's built off vain wickedness, right? Verse 28, but as concerning the things whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come, because it's going to come. The thermonuclear destruction is going to come. Verse 29, if therefore that which is shown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is shown pass not away, then cannot it come that is shown with good. Right, so this place called America is going to be destroyed. The only way the kingdom of heaven is going to be established on the earth, and the only way we're going to be able to see the return of the Lord and all of that, is if these prophecies come to pass. These prophecies have to come to pass first before the Lord can come back. Thermonuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures. All right, thermonuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures, man. All right, it's in the scriptures, and it's going to come to pass. All right, Isaiah 54 and 16. It says, behold, I created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, right? And that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. You see that? So thermonuclear missiles are mentioned in the scriptures. And the Lord gave Esau his blessing. That's his blessing. His blessing is the weapon. His blessing is the gun, the ARs, right? The Tech 9s, the grenades, the Predator missiles, the thermonuclear missiles. The Lord that's Esau's blessing. The Lord gave him the wisdom to be able to create these war weapons. And even though Esau is doing all these things, the Lord has put that in him to do that. Esau don't know what he's doing. The Lord is using Esau to fulfill prophecy. He's a controlled robot, not knowing what he's doing. The Lord is using him to fulfill prophecy. And the Lord's setting all of that up. Thermonuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures, and America will be destroyed. So, hey, man, there's more scriptures. Actually, let's get out Revelation, and we'll wrap it up. Revelation 9, and we'll read verse 16. Right? Because if you read Revelation 9 and 1 and read down, that talks about the bottomless pit, that's Europe. This is going into World War I right here. When you go into Revelations 9 and you read Revelations 9 and read verse 1 all the way down to 9, all that right there, that's talking about all this right here. Reading from verse 1 all the way down right here is all talking about World War I. But when you go down to verse 16, it talks about the nuclear missiles. Look, Revelation 9 and 16. It says, and the number of the army of the horsemen. The number of the army of the horsemen, that's talking about the nuclear missiles. And when it says we're 200,000, that's talking about 200 million nuclear missiles. It says, and I heard the number of them. Nuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures, man. Verse 17, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, right, and them that sat on them, right, having breastplates of fire and jason, brimstone. Brimstone is sulfur, gunpowder. That's how Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, with sulfur, right? It says, and the heads of the horses were as the head of lions. This is talking about the missiles. And out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. This is talking about nuclear missiles. Verse 18. By these three were the third part of men killed by fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. Verse 19. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. The tails is the back of the missile that they use when they launch it. right? You see the back of the missile when they launch the missile, the smoke come out of it, right? That's the tails there. And it says for their tails were like unto serpents, right? They're talking about the back part of the missile, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. So when you read the scriptures of Revelation 9:16, you read down, it talks about the nuclear missiles. It literally describes the nuclear missiles. It literally describes the number of the nuclear missiles that's going to be 200,000, right? 200,000 is 2 million nuclear missiles. It's prophesied in the scriptures, right? It's literally prophesied in the scriptures. Hey, man, so nuclear missiles are prophesied in the scriptures, man. All right? It's prophesied in the scriptures, and it is going to come. All right? So, hey, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. I want to give all honors and glories and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Al-Shai, Ba'ashim Al-Kakodash. And Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. On to the next one. Shalom.